So the developers at Treyarch in the zombies department do listen to what we say. They are quietly there in the background, reading our tweets, seeing what people are saying on Reddit. I would also guess watching YouTube videos. At the end of the day, these are normal people, so besides from their work making the game, on their off time they'll be doing what everyone else is doing, what me and you do. If you're involved in this community, you're bound to see what other people are saying about the game, and that's something we don't really think about. Whenever we talk about COD Zombies or any video game, we automatically assume that the developers aren't listening, that they don't know what we want, that they aren't aware of what the community's thinking, but it's totally the opposite. In fact, they're very aware, and to be honest, maybe even more aware than the average player or user. If you just play COD and then go about your day, because the developers are more involved in the community, they will know more about what players want from their game than the general person who doesn't go on Twitter or watch videos or whatever. So when we're here complaining about the game, saying we don't like this, we don't want that, this is what we want to see in the next game in Treyarch's next Zombies title in 2024, or this is what we didn't like about past games, BO3 was better than Black Ops 4, or this is what I liked about Cold War, this is what I didn't like. The developers know all of this. They are aware, they are listening, which is one of the reasons why I've always disagreed with people saying that zombies shouldn't come back, that we shouldn't be getting it again, or that the 2024 game should be the last one, because the last few games that we've had from them, mainly Vanguard, Cold War, people include Black Ops 4 in that as well, they say, well, the past games haven't been good, somewhere along the line Treyarch stopped listening to the community, so I'd rather them just make one final zombies game and then stop. Just leave it on a good note. I've always said no to that because each and every game is different and there are loads of different factors as to what make a game good. But when people say Treyarch aren't listening, well, it's clear they are. They know exactly what the community's thoughts on their games are. The right question would be, are they doing anything about it? There's a difference between, yes, I can see what you're saying, we know what you think, we know what you want, but will we implement it in the game, or will we make those changes that the community want to see? If you're asking, well, Eli, how do we know that Treyarch are listening? There are hundreds of developers. I actually don't know how big the zombies department is at Treyarch. We know it started off all the way back in World at War with just a few developers, and then it got bigger and bigger. Are there over 100? Are they less? I have no idea. And of course, some of those were bound to be on Twitter. In fact, we know that the lead developer of Zombies, or should I say the associate director, he who is Kevin Drew, he's on Twitter. He occasionally does interact with the community, and he said himself, he's usually quiet on Twitter, but he's always reading what the community is saying about his game. I'm pretty sure he was promoted to this position after Cold War Zombies, so he worked on Cold War, he was in charge of these zombie systems and Outbreak, and then after that game, he became the associate director, which is, I think, the highest or one of the highest positions that you can assume for Zombies. So whatever we get for Zombies in 2024 from Treyarch, he is the associate director of it. And the fact that he has said himself, he's on Twitter, he's always reading what the community is saying, is pretty promising because he should know then what the community wants to see for Zombies in their next game. And obviously he's not the only one, there are a load of other developers that are reading as well. Although they may not interact with us that much, they will see more than you think. They'll see your tweets, they'll see YouTube videos, they'll see Reddit posts. As I said earlier on, it's just then up to them to make the decision whether they want to implement what we want into the game or do their own thing. I don't know anything about game development. I would guess you'd want a mixture of both. You want what the community want, but you also want to add in your own ideas because it's your creation, it's your game. Anyway, the reason why I'm mentioning this is because on 115 Day Glitching Queen said this on Twitter. She asked for a little hint towards the impossible Easter egg on Shadows of Evil, which, well, that in itself is for a different video, and Kevin replied, sorry, I didn't work on Shadows, was busy on the BO3 campaign and then Zetsu Hiroshima, so I don't know much about it. Mech Hyena might though. And they replied, and by the way, they are the lead game designer at Treyarch, we don't know all of the Easter eggs for operational security at the time, but all of the major ones involving steps and ciphers that I know of have been solved. That's not to say there isn't still something waiting to be found, I just don't know if there is. Except, never mind, someone did make the correct reference to the meteor mentioned in the phone call. I got nothing else for that map. Confirming that all of the Easter eggs, as far as they're aware anyway, have been solved within Shadows of Evil. This doesn't, I don't think, necessarily mean references, but as far as actual Easter eggs goes, so ciphers and then anything physical you can do in game, have been found and solved within Shadows of Evil. They then say, well, I've got nothing else for Shadows, hinting towards there are other things in other maps, which would have been nice to know, but it is good to know that all of the Easter eggs in Shadows have been solved, besides from the impossible one. But it's also at the same time a little bit annoying because there are ones potentially in Gorod, Zetsubo, Revelations, Horizon Draka maybe. I feel like a lot in that map have been solved as well, because we had quite a few not too long ago. And Revelations, we know there are tons of ciphers in Revelations that haven't been decoded. I do kind of wish for 115 Day Treyarch could have at least given us a hint towards something. It's been so many years now. I recently just made a video on this, but to even have one of those ciphers solved in Revelations would be an absolute gem. All we can do is wish. But as far as the impossible Shadows of Evil Easter egg goes, that's another video in itself. But this does confirm that Treyarch are listening. They just don't interact with us that much, and to be fair, they never really have anyway. A lot of people might think they interacted more with us because of Jason Blundell. He did a few videos, but he never had a Twitter account, whereas Kevin, who is not taking his position, but I would say is the closest one to it, does have Twitter, so he can read more of what we are thinking than what Jason did, unless Jason had some secret Twitter. I think he might have done, because it's quite difficult for me to get my head around someone not having Twitter these days, especially when you're the head of zombies, but maybe he didn't, I don't know. But this does let us know that Treyarch are listening, and it's one of the many reasons why I'm quite excited for the next game. All the way back in June, Kevin said we have big plans for zombies when he was promoting that they're hiring at Treyarch. We know they're still taking on a load of new employees for the zombies mode, so that's good. The big point is always going to be, are they still going to just do what they want, or will they take what the community is saying into consideration? If we look at Cold War, there was so much feedback given on that game, but it kind of felt like Treyarch weren't listening. You could say the same thing for Black Ops 4. I think for BO321 it's harder to say that because the community as a whole was a lot happier, there was less complaining, so you wouldn't notice it as much. You're never going to please absolutely everyone. We all want different things. There might be something I want in zombies that other players don't, or something that you want that I personally wouldn't like to see. You can't please everyone, you have to find the middle, and sometimes you have to ignore what everyone's saying and just do what you want, because sometimes what the community wants might not be right, so the developers have got to do what they think is the right thing. I would say most of the time, just from a YouTube perspective, it is best to listen to your community, your fans, and what they want to see, but not all the time. Sometimes you've got to do what you think is best. Maybe Treyarch, where they're at right now, think that what they did in Cold War is the right way to take zombies, compared to where they were taking it in BO3 and 4. Or maybe they did think that, but they've seen the community's feedback, and will try to change that in the next game. Right now, we don't know, but at least they are listening, even if it's quietly in the background, which is a lot better than just ignoring the community completely, because then you don't know what your fans want from the game. You don't know if they're enjoying it, if they're disliking it, they'd like things to change, if they're leaving and losing interest, or if more people are coming in. They can get some of those statistics from the player base, but I think there's a big difference between the amount of players on your game compared to if people are actually enjoying it. Look at Modern Warfare 2, for example, the latest game. I think it's one of the, is it not the best-selling COD ever? The biggest launch? So judging by that, you would say, hang on, if this is the biggest selling COD ever so far, this must be one of the best COD games ever. But if you look at the community's feedback, that would say otherwise. And it's the same with zombies. Outbreak was the biggest zombies launch to date, judging by statistics, but looking at feedback, even though it was still liked, there was a mixed response. So you've kind of got to be careful when you're looking at statistics in that way. Just because it's got a big player base doesn't mean that people are happy. The best way is to look at feedback, but still then, Twitter, YouTube, Reddit doesn't necessarily represent everyone. There are millions of people that don't take their opinions to social media and will have their own thoughts. It is difficult, but yeah, there we go. Let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. As always, hopefully you've enjoyed the video today. If you have, drop a like rating. Make sure you are subscribed to stay up to date with the latest content on the channel. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Until then, goodbye.